You're it.
I plan to cut seafood from my own diet long before then. Now, who knows? Maybe this is the break that the Pacific Ocean has needed, sick as it is, to rebuild its vastly overfished ecosystem, which was compared by an old seafarer to an ocean desert. He said that it used to be you would see life about every hour when on the Pacific Ocean, and today you go for days without seeing a single sign of life. Now, regardless, there is not much we can do. Where are you going to go? South America, maybe. It's a global problem. The bad news is I suspect radiation alerts will soon become like smog alerts. The good news is that land that was irradiated during the Second World War and thought to be unusable for 100 years is now once again thriving cities. So our calculations of the lingering dangers were perhaps overstated. But the bad news is that millions upon millions of individual little time bombs have been cast onto the four winds. The really bad ones, like cesium, will be sitting there in our environment for our lifetime and beyond, just waiting to go off. And if you, your child, or your pet is near it when it goes off, there will be cellular damage if it hits you. If more than one hits you before your body can repair previous damage, then you are on your way to potential tumors and cancer. There will be an upswing, no doubt, but the probabilities are yet unknown. What helps us is the dilution these radioactive particles will have gone through on their way here, spreading out across the Pacific. That doesn't sound like much of a concession, but it will mean that the number of them you personally might be exposed to will be greatly reduced. So the question now becomes, wait for it, do you feel lucky? Some radiation now is good, and without it we wouldn't survive. For example, lack of thermal radiation will kill you. You freeze to death. Lack of visible radiation would make life impossible for mankind to function blindly in the dark. We live in a sea of radiation, some of which we need like thermal. The trick to long-term survival is to know your enemy, where it lives, where it goes, and how much of it is focused on you. Then make your life choices accordingly. Now, keep your eye on Dutch Cinch's channel for airflow and particulate projections, and try to avoid inhalation of particulates when they're at the heaviest in the air. But because the particles remain for so long in the environment and could be stirred up by traffic or wind, this radiation is here to stay. Riding your bike on a high-level day or on dusty roads or street, you might want to be avoided. Now remember, if they are already in your body, when that little time bomb goes off, it will do damage, as opposed to having a layer of roofing or insulation between you and the ejected radiating particles or photons. Current release of the current models projected the releases of three main elements. We'll go to those. Cesium-137, and I'll try and show this on the screen here. Basically the worst. It's very high energy release, and it releases particles and gamma radiation, which gamma will penetrate, as hopefully I've showed by now these slides of the penetration ability of the different particles. Then probably iodine, 131 is the next, and then xenon. Now let me get back up to... Alright. So finally, I recently made a comment on a video where I was kind of angry at Japan for being so stupid. It was after I had read some of the engineers jokingly referring to the diesel backup generators as snap, crackle, and pop. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory, but for the non-engineers, that means that within hours of operation, the generators would make similar sounds and stop functioning. Not a particularly funny joke right now. So I apologize to the Japanese people, and if I could help, I would. The villain here is not the people of Japan or the science involved, which, if done with some common sense and not bidding out your work to the lowest contractor's price, which gets you snap, crackle, and pop, the villain here is the same as in the Gulf of Mexico. Corporations gone wild. Our government may be sneaky and withhold truth from us, but other than armed conflicts, never has any group of people caused so much devastation and heartbreak than powerful corporations without a conscience. Look up what was done to India by Dow Chemicals, and then they had the gonads to try and turn around and say it was the Indian people's fault because they weren't smart enough to run the plant properly, adding insult to injury. So what we need is to combat this is more regulation, not less. Any idiot should see the value of that by now. I can only suppose that those deregulation junkies just hate their grandchildren and want to see them suffer and die. Do you? In conclusion, as it is almost always the case, the innocent will suffer for the sins of a few greedy bastards who will do anything to climb that corporate ladder. And that is the animals, the children of humans, and in the long term our planet, which did nothing wrong other than to give birth to a race of beings such as us. Links below.